Hi everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about how to find out the angle between two straight lines. If we know the slopes of those straight lines or if we know the equations of those straight lines, then we should be able to find out the angle between those two straight lines, assuming that the straight lines intersect each other at some point, right? Here in the diagram, I have two straight lines, straight line A that makes an angle alpha with the positive x-axis and straight line B which makes an angle of beta with the positive x-axis. And we have to find out the value of theta, assuming that that is the angle between the two straight lines. Now when we talk about angles between two straight lines, it could be theta or it could be pi minus theta also. Pi minus theta obviously will be the obtuse angle and theta will be the acute angle. Now let's assume that the equation of the first straight line, which is A, let's assume that its equation is y equals m sub 1 times x plus c sub 1. And similarly, let's also assume that the equation of the second straight line, which is the straight line B, its equation is y equals m sub 2 times x plus c sub 2. So clearly m sub 1 is equal to tangent of alpha because that is the slope of the first straight line, and similarly m sub 2 would be tangent of beta, that's the slope of the second straight line. And now I have assigned the names to the 3 points of interest here. You can see I have named them as P, Q and R, and if we look at the triangle PQR, you see that alpha is an exterior angle for that triangle. So we can say that alpha would be equal to the sum of the two farthest interior angles. So we can say alpha is equal to beta plus theta, and from there can we say that theta is equal to alpha minus beta. Now let's take the tangent of theta and see what we get. So if we say tangent of theta, that would be equal to tangent of alpha minus beta, and can we write it as tangent of alpha minus tangent of beta over 1 plus tangent of alpha times tangent of beta. And now let's substitute the values of tangent of alpha and tangent of beta and then see what we get. Well, tangent of alpha is equal to m sub 1, so I am using m sub 1 in place of tangent of alpha, and then minus for tangent of beta let's use m sub 2 divided by 1 plus again tangent of alpha I am going to use m sub 1 times for tangent of beta I am going to use m sub 2. So from here can we say that theta is equal to tan inverse of m sub 1 minus m sub 2 over 1 plus m sub 1 times m sub 2. Now let's also take a look at the tangent of the obtuse angle between the two lines. Now you see the obtuse angle between the two lines would be pi minus theta. So if we take a tangent of that angle, then what we get? That will be equal to negative of tangent of theta, and then again it will be negative of whatever value that we just derived for tangent of theta, that would be negative of m sub 1 minus m sub 2 over 1 plus m sub 1 times m sub 2. So from here you can see that we can get a positive or a negative value when we do this calculation of m sub 1 minus m sub 2 over 1 plus m sub 1 times m sub 2. We could get a positive value or we could get a negative value. Now when we get a negative value, well, when we are doing the tangent of the obtuse angle, that is when we have the possibility of getting a negative value. And when do we get the positive value? That would be for the acute angle. When we do the tangent of the acute angle between the two lines, that is when we can get a positive value. So depending on what value we get, we have to be careful. If we do this calculation and see that we are getting a negative value, then obviously we have done the calculation for the obtuse angle. Now how do we get the acute angle? Well, for the acute angle, all we have to do is we have to take the absolute value of this expression. So to guarantee that we are finding the acute angle between the two straight lines, we can say that theta will be equal to tan inverse of absolute value of m sub 1 minus m sub 2 over 1 plus m sub 1 times m sub 2. And also I have made a note here that this theta would be the acute angle between the two straight lines. Let me highlight this. So when you know the slopes of the two straight lines, we can calculate the value of the angle between the two straight lines using this formula. Right? Now, sometimes you could be given the straight lines equation in a different way. For example, if we have been given the equations of the straight lines like this, let's say suppose the equation of the first straight line was something like this. Let's say a sub 1 times x plus b sub 1 times y plus c sub 1 is equal to 0. And then for the second straight line, let's assume that the equation was given like this. Say suppose a sub 2 times x plus b sub 2 times y plus c sub 2 is equal to 0. Now from here, let's try to find out what is the slope of each of those lines. Well, from the first equation, we can convert it into this form. We can say, well, then we can write it as y equals negative a sub 1 over b sub 1 times x and negative c sub 1 over b sub 1. And there you see, we already see the slope of the first straight line, which is negative a sub 1 over b sub 1. Similarly, let's transform the second equation also into the y equals mx plus c format. So here again we can say that y would be equal to negative a sub 2 over b sub 2 times x minus c sub 2 over b sub 2. And there also we can see the value of the slope, which is negative a sub 2 over b sub 2. Now if we use these values of the slopes in place of m sub 1 and m sub 2, let's see what we get. We're going to get something like this. And let's try to simplify, and from here we get, and this can be written as, and so we can say theta is equal to, which is the acute angle between the two straight lines. We can write it as tan inverse absolute value of this expression, which is a sub 2 times b sub 1 minus a sub 1 times b sub 2 over a sub 1 times a sub 2 plus b sub 1 times b sub 2. Let's take an example. Suppose we have been given the equations of two straight lines, and the equations are x plus y minus 3 equals 0. That's the equation of the first straight line. And x plus 2 times y plus 5 equals 0. That's the equation of the second straight line. And we have been asked to find out the angle between the two straight lines. Now if we convert the first equation into y equals mx plus c form, then what we get? So there obviously the slope is negative 1, m would be negative 1 because that's the coefficient of x. And similarly for the second equation, if we convert it, what we get? We get y equals negative half of x minus 5 over 2. So for the second straight line, the slope appears to be negative 1/2. Now let's try to use this value in the first formula. And if we simplify this, it's going to look like, if we take the absolute value, it will be positive 1/3. So it would be tan inverse positive 1/3. And that is the actual value of the acute angle between the two straight lines. I hope everything made sense. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.